tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am the video production and community manager over at Tubebuddy. So Tubebuddy is an online browser extension that basically helps YouTubers create content on a YouTube platform. I was Tubebuddy's first outside hire, so I've been with the company for 5 years now. And what I help people do is better understand YouTube and video content creation so that they can create what they're passionate about and earn money through YouTube as well as build communities.
1 second here now. So yeah, you're going away at that now, and yeah, you were Tubebuddy's first outside hire, which was really impressive. Sorry, I had you come out twice in 1 year for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah, YouTube tab open, other thing. But hey, no, Tubebuddy has been like something that's seriously helped myself and Thomas, the other host, get the show going and keep at it. I don't think to be honest, I don't think we would have kept at it if we didn't find something like Tubebuddy, because we tried vidIQ. They're not up to the same standard. Tubebuddy just has these other benefits, especially the keyword explorer. Even the free version just kind of helps you along the way. But had to give it a go, especially because when you're starting off, you can watch all these videos by guys who say like, oh, do this, do that, nothing happens, and then you have to find other ways to figure it out. And Tubebuddy was there. It's handy. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, what's your involvement at Tubebuddy at the moment?
So currently I run and manage the YouTube channel. I help with all the content that's being produced. I help in terms of SEO, doing the research, as well as the live streams that we produce over at Tubebuddy. So if there's any video production, I usually have some sort of involvement in the creation process. And outside of that, I'm also the community manager. So our Discord, our forums, things like that, I help kind of grow and facilitate our communities there. So when I started, we had 0. Now we're up to about 56,000 community members between our forums and our Discord server.
Not bad. Yeah, you're doing a pretty good job there. But I do notice like you're definitely the most active of their staff. Like you're kind of like everywhere. Like I'm actually gonna pull up the YouTube channel there, and you notice you're everywhere on it. So 1 second. It's crazy.
It's a little surreal because when I started, that was not my intention to be everywhere.
Well, look where you are now. All right, let's get this going. Share screen. Which one? Boom. So here we are. Oh, straight away. And watch this whole series here.
So this
Start
is
here.
Yes, this is
Everywhere.
basically if you've never used TubeBuddy before, we just give a quick, easy way that you can understand what TubeBuddy is. We have how to use our Keyword Explorer. We talk about the stuff you get for free, how to improve your YouTube videos with some of our features. So we look at what people ask us at TubeBuddy, and so we've made playlists that reflect that, because I feel a lot of times, especially when it comes to a YouTube channel, that people try to think, what do people want? But if you look at the analytics, you can see, how did people find me? How am I serving those people that found me through those search terms on the front facing of my YouTube channel? Because a YouTube channel is essentially your entire catalog. And if you put your discography, I always say it's like a store because YouTube says that. If you put your best stuff first, you'll find better results because you're answering the questions people had to even find your channel. So on the TubeBuddy YouTube channel, we've set it up to be all the questions we get asked frequently are immediately answered in playlists with descriptions and videos that answer the questions we get all the time.
That's actually pretty fucking genius. That's so smart, because you're looking at it and you're like, oh, how do I get started on YouTube? And you literally have it open here, and the first thing you got is a playlist on that. It's fucking long. There you go. Yeah, you got, and like, yeah, you're doing something right there. But I don't need to tell you that. So before TubeBuddy, what were you doing?
So before TubeBuddy, I was actually in the YouTube multi-channel network space. So it's MCN. They're kind of like Machinima or Studio 71 nowadays. I know Machinima is not so much around anymore, but I mean, it is and isn't as a network, but that's not the point. The point being, it was around before YouTube monetization was very easily publicly accessible, right? So the idea was YouTube creators wanted to earn money. And yes, there's kind of always been the AdSense route, but people weren't sure if YouTube was viable. I mean, this is like early days, 2013. Like if we think of YouTube today compared to back then, it's a completely different beast. So people were not even sure if this is a career. People were coming up and earning money, but it wasn't that accessible. So networks existed to help creators monetize, and they promised, brand deals, and they promised community, and they promised assets. So back then it was about helping creators. And I kind of left the scene a little bit, but I met Tubebuddy at that time in a YouTube NCN. So I was able to help creators in a community aspect. I was actually one of their community moderators, which is kind of how I got my start in building communities. I got to see how MCNs were doing. I got to see what creators liked, what they didn't. Turns out if you treat a creator like a human being, it'll go a lot farther than just a business partner.
Go figure.
Right? So what I learned was that creators are not treated well traditionally. I mean, YouTube creators, even today, there's always this stigma. Oh, you create online? What do you really do? It's starting to become a little bit better, but you always hear a certain generation go, you can make money doing that. And as many times as I've explained what I do to people, they're still like, what do you really do? So for YouTube networks, it was kind of a way to legitimize it, but they started realizing that they could earn more money by not helping creators than actually helping creators. So I took a step away from that. And then Tubebuddy, who was working with MCNs, because Tubebuddy actually can help creators with tools, realized that, hey, he just left. He was a huge part of growing this community here. We're looking for that. What if we reached out? And that's actually how I got my involvement started with Tubebuddy. So from the YouTube NCN days to Tubebuddy, it's all kind of tied together.
Yeah. But what you're saying there about, like, they were taking advantage of the creators, you kind of find that across entertainment and media as a whole. Like that's a serious problem. Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, but it is good you guys are like, empowering creators and, doing the complete fucking opposite. You're saying here's the tools, and they're pretty fucking cheap, and they can make you money. In fairness, like it's a handy tool if it makes you money.
So that's actually been a huge part of Tubebuddy. We have 40 free tools, and we do our best. The hard part with any tool, especially when you work on YouTube, is like it's balancing what we can do and what we want to do, because like creators, we have to play by YouTube's rule. We get their API that lets us do all the cool stuff that we can do with Tubebuddy. And just as they're unclear in communication to creators, it's just as bad for their partners, which I wish wasn't the case. Obviously, every relationship with YouTube is kind of hard because YouTube's such a massive corporation. But we're able to do what we can do to help creators, and that's why we offer so many free tools. We, at the end of the day, want to do as much as possible to help creators.
Yeah, because sometimes YouTube themselves doesn't try to do that. You've probably seen that with the YouTube Union that tried to be made. I think York Sprav was pretty involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have any involvement in that? You know anything about that? Because I found it and it was dead when I found it.
So early on, we were interested in it, but unfortunately, it didn't get a lot of sustainability. I feel like a lot of times when it comes to YouTube, it's really hard because one of the pros and the cons of YouTube is the pros is it's so new and it's always changing, and that's exciting. Con, it's so new and it's always changing. So there's like no precedent set with something like YouTube.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, but yeah, like it is a pro, it is a con. It kind of depends what way you're looking at it. It's just constantly changing.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, what was? How long ago was it when they did that big purge of like, you could only get ads if you got to like a certain number, like if you were at 1,000 subscribers, whatever.
I want to say 2018 was around when they put that, so it's been 3 years now.
I remember having a channel at that time, and it had made like $20. And I remember being so heartbroken when that happened. I was like, I'm done. And I completely stopped. I completely stopped until like 2020 hit and we started doing the podcast. But yeah, man. I know other people had the same reaction because it was kind of like, okay, here's this big barrier. Realistically, it's not that bad, but but it is a barrier. Still, like, it is really hard unless you have an established platform to get those numbers.
Yep, but I also think the only thing that, and this is what I find talking to creators is like, I feel like as creators, we don't realize the value we provide in general. Like AdSense is great, but it's cents, and I mean pennies, not like dollars. Like people overestimate the power of AdSense because they see large creators talk about how important it is, but they also fail to remember that those large creators have millions of people getting those ads. If you're starting, what I find is there's more power in affiliate programs, there's more power in like referrals than there is because the authority you can control to a smaller audience sometimes compared to bigger, you'd be surprised how much power you have because the people that are watching you at this size, they really care. Those are the people that are here. They want to know what you think. They want to listen to what you have to say. And a lot of times as creators, we're afraid to recommend what we do. Like I remember off air, you asked me about this mic, and that's something that I share all the time. And my community is like, we want to know how we can support you in any way. If you got affiliate links, drop it. So it taught me, I've seen it happen to other creators, that there's other ways to earn money just by having a friendly, communicative relationship with your audience. The more transparent you are, even when you're smaller, there are other ways you can earn revenue. And I feel that there's a lot of like, AdSense is the end goal, but AdSense is really just the beginning of the journey.
Gas money. Way. It is gas money. And exactly. For us at the moment, it's gas money if we have a lawnmower that's on about half gas at the moment. It's rough.
Yes.
You know the story. Like you start off, it's not that big, but it can also vary a lot, can't it? Like your what's it called? Like your payment per thousand can change like almost daily.
Yeah. That's because it's based on the ads that are served. And I've seen some YouTubers make thousands of dollars one month, and then they're like, why am I getting hundreds this month? Because ad spend changes quarter after quarter, month after month.
Wouldn't mind that problem.
It's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind the problem there of, I'm only making hundreds. Sounds all right. Sounds like a good problem to have.
You can also make hundreds without AdSense. Like, I think that's the real sad part is like, that is the truth. You don't need AdSense to make hundreds. I've seen more people make money through Amazon Associates and affiliates than they ever did with AdSense. Yeah,
like, are you familiar with the likes of like Demolition Ranch, like or gun channels as a whole?
Mm-hmm.
That's their big problem. AdSense won't give them anything, so they have to rely completely on the affiliate stuff. It's a great option to have, because like if YouTube doesn't like what you're putting out, and you can still make money from doing it, there should be an option, but yeah, that's a rough situation.
I fully agree. I think one of the problems that we have as well is like, I think that one thing that I'm not a fan of YouTube is just not being transparent. They're finally, after years of begging, telling us, like letting us self-certify content, which, should have been there from the beginning, which lets us know what is at least flagging. But that's been a cry since 2010, and it took 2011. It shouldn't have taken 11 years for us to get these kind of tools. Yeah. So while I love the platform, I will be the first to say they did not handle anything very well in that point of reference.
They've gotten better.
100%.
They have upped their game a little bit. So fair play to them on that. But yeah, that is one thing. That's a problem. Like we even have things like we've been copyrighted for our own material. You're like going back and looking at our own stuff, and then you like try like get that fixed, and then you can't even talk to a person.
Yeah,
bit of a pain. Or yeah, we do like interviews like this. We might have an actor on or whatever, or voice actor, and then same as without having like pulled anything up because we only started doing that recently, and it'd be flagged, and then you don't even. Well, we've never been able to find out why. I don't know if you're able to, but
so that goes into copyright law, and I will preface this with I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Yeah. However, it's fair use is such a hard thread to one weave and second win online, because YouTube has companies with massive lawyers saying take it down or we'll take down your entire platform, versus a creator on the up and up and trying to come. And while you may have the fair use claim, you're fighting not necessarily YouTube, which YouTube gets the rep because they have to enforce the law. You're fighting a corporation. Like in the end of the day, YouTube's just the middleman. It's really those companies that tend to squash the creator, but YouTube gets the fall for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it is dodgy. Sometimes you'd wonder how you get through it, but look, there's people who've been at it like for a long ass time, and there's been all kinds of like different trends on YouTube. Like one I love the point that kind of died, but some kind of kept it going was the like top 5 facts, top 10 facts. That was a great trend that died. That was about 2017, 2018, right? They kind of blew up, and then like not as much anymore. Like I know the likes of like your man Slaptam or Matthew Santoro kind of keep at it, but if you weren't that big when they were trendy, you're probably not hanging around anymore.
The thing that I find with those kind of channels, though, the top 5 facts, is like YouTube has changed in what they want, because at the beginning you could have more variety, and the problem with those kind of channels is that sometimes when you open up top 5 facts on a variety of different factors, if they're not within like the same realm, they can start splitting the audience. So for example, if I do top 5 facts in the Marvel franchise, I have lots of different things I can pull from. I have different comics, I have different characters, I have a wide variety of things. But if I do top 5 facts about artichokes, and then top 5 facts about lava lamps, and then top 5 facts about Irish YouTubers, well, the lava lamp and the guacamole and the Irish YouTubers may not have a perfect synergy there. And so my audience is like, I really love when you talk about Irish YouTubers, but I don't really care when you talk about lava lamps. And so then the problem becomes I've created too many different factors. Like if you're watching a cooking show, you're not there for them to talk about ballet. And if they start talking about ballet, you start getting disinterested. You're like, look, I just need to learn how to make a meal. You're talking about ballet. That's cool, I'm sure, but I'm here for this.
That's one thing that we find pretty rough, because we do an interview style show. And just like this conversation, it can go anywhere.
Yep.
Like, did you expect to get the top 5 fact channels?
So I always expect the unexpected. I mean, I've been interviewed a few times now, and I love conversations like this. And you can be in variety, but I think ultimately what you need to remember is like, what is the through line you want your audience to get, and what can you present that with? Like, I know that you called this one YouTube Tips with Tubebuddy employee Andrew Can, right? So there's something very specific you want with that. How often is YouTube Tips the focus on the channel?
About this many times.
So what I would say is, how often are you the focus on the channel?
That's a rough question to answer. I wouldn't really know, because it's always with a guest. It's never just us. I guess you could nearly say 100% of the time, because we're part of the conversation.
So that for your audience is the through line. That's what's bringing it together. That's what's taking it from the variety. The thing is, though, it's then identifying what does the audience like when we talk about it. You were telling me some things off air, which I won't repeat unless you feel comfortable with, that you've kind of seen.
We didn't say it that bad. Come on.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, you'll notice what your audience likes. And I think the hard part we have as creators, and I get into this, is sometimes it's like, oh, I want to make this video. But it's like, wait, am I going to be the only one who wants this? Or will the people I actually have gotten a community trust with going to care about this as well? And that's what we struggle with it too, buddy, because sometimes we could go very, very wide. We could go crazy with it. But it's like, but wait, is that what they really want? Now, for your channel, they're coming for you. So anytime you talk about something, there is a through line. Maybe you don't see it because you're in it, but you are the reason they come. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have almost 1,500 subscribers. That's the truth. So it's then understanding what stories you have that you can reflect with your guests that bring value to the audience.
Yeah, it's something I don't think about, and it's very nice of you to bring it up. Like, but yeah, it's something I have to consider. Like especially right when you're saying like, are you going to be the only person to watch this? Because sometimes we have people who are in like some abstract fields, and when we'd be like actor, voice actor, maybe go for a comedian, that kind of trend. But when those dry up, we kind of move on to some abstract stuff. Like we've done like entomology, you know, like the study of insects. We've done marine biology, a couple like sciencey ones, flat Earth, you know, things like that every now and then. But when we go off topic, off our normal trend, we do notice it. But I don't know, it's kind of a product of the acting industry. You know, like there's nothing going on right now. Like we were grateful we got all the Call of Duty Black Ops cast and some of the Modern Warfare. But like what? There's 12 people there. We did 12 interviews. Okay, but we have 200 and as of this 208 episodes. So now what? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, you know, just looking at the channel and just this is me thinking and how I look at YouTube, I would say like you have a lot that you could definitely, you know, I know you have the story so far, you have past live streams, but I would love to see some of those created playlists that you actually have put in like that group playlist, letting them shine individually and seeing, hey, what are people here for? Like, what is resonating? And I think that there is a lot of stuff that's resonating. In fact, I always research anything before I do it. I mean, you talked about Keyword Explorer. I'm a researcher at heart, right? I feel like when you research something, you really can get to understand it and know it and talk about it. And I think you've probably learned that with so many podcast episodes, right? So what I would say is look at those analytics and look at what has been really like hitting for you, and then group it so it's easier for people to find, and never be afraid to ask the people watching. Like right now, I see that we have Golden Bacon. I see that we have Lava Squid. I see that we have Almost Easy. Like we have some people here, and I'm sure they have opinions as well. And when I look at your channel, I see a lot of potential in terms of just what you're talking about. Like even when you were explaining the groups, like you identified science, you identified voice acting, you identified acting in general, and all of those should be playlists, and all of them are unique. And that's what's making the Awfully Irish podcast different, and that's why people like it. And I think that's the thing.
Let me just write that down real quick.
No worries.
Dude, I already knew I had to do this anyway. Like but Thomas, the other host, has been like, dude, like when we first made those playlists, it's like, do you want to make them a bit more diverse? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine for now. I had like 100 and something episodes, and here we are now. Like, dude, it's like a full day worth of work to try get this sorted. It's worth it though, in your eyes, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If people want to binge episodes, you want to make it easy for them because you want them to spend time with you. The easier you make it, the better it is. I call YouTube like dating. Like the easier you make it for your date to have a good time, the likelihood you are to have a second date. But if you make it like you have to do homework, like it's like, all right, you watched episode 1. Now you have to search our channel. Then you have to find the second part you really care about. But once you do that, don't forget to subscribe, like the bell. It's like, whoa. We're on date 1. I just met you. I have to do this, this, and this before I can even enjoy.
I hate guys who do that with their videos, and it's like, but I love guys who like summarize it beforehand. But they say like, you want the full thing, go check out this video, and it's up in the corner, whatever. I hate those guys. A lot of it is like, because I watch a lot of like tech people, and a lot of them do that. Yeah,
it's a product of that is what YouTube rewards. And when a certain behavior is rewarded, even if you do not enjoy it, it's don't hate the player, hate the game, because that's what YouTube rewards. And it's like, if I told you that's how you could be successful, that's how you can find more views and get your podcast to stop earning gas money and start earning house payment money, you'd probably be like, all I got to do is put a card on screen. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the human part of it.
Yeah, dude, it can be confusing sometimes, but you know, we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah. Hopefully I could learn a bit from talking to you today. Because I really like what you're doing. Like I was really surprised when I looked, because you know, anyone who doesn't use TubeBuddy, if you use TubeBuddy, you can see what other YouTubers are doing in comparison to yours. I don't know if that works on like just like a plain account, but
yeah, it's available on the free version.
I can see how Andrew did this month. He can see how I did this month. And I can kind of go like, okay, so this is what he's doing. How come he's doing so much better? Is it his, I don't know, his amazing sign behind him, his looks, his great mic beside him? What is it? Yeah, I'll keep my interpretation to myself. But no, I really, really like what you're doing. I absolutely love what you're doing. On your own channel, never mind what you're doing on TubeBuddy. Well, How many channels do you have? Because I know two of them.
So technically, I'm a part of 12 different YouTube channels with all monetized and all different levels of success. So people are like, I don't see you on this channel. I'm like, that's because I'm on either this channel or this channel or this channel. And the reality is, what I've learned on doing YouTube is that each channel has its own audience, and that you got to find that passion. I mentioned earlier, like sometimes I want to talk about this one thing at one place. One thing I would challenge you to do, just kind of going on that, is have you ever thought about clipping the Awfully Irish podcast? And maybe you do have a clips channel. I just couldn't find it.
Yeah, we
But
do.
you do have a clips channel?
But the fucking effort, dude! It's like, okay, we did an episode for an hour. Okay, we recorded. We got set up. Okay, we did our research half an hour beforehand. Did the episode, last an hour. Okay, now watch it again. Slower. Get the clips. Publish them as well. It's.
I understand that.
I'm in college at the moment. Maybe for the next 2 weeks, then I'm done. No, I don't even know when I finish. But then when that is over, I have intentions of doing a lot of clipping, because we did find some success in clipping.
So
yeah,
one thing I would say, and this is something I've actually brought up to StreamYard and a bunch of the other stuff, is are you doing YouTube chapters right now?
no, because again, it's this thing of like, this is going to take a long time. And how often do I check YouTube chapters myself? That's the way I see it. Like,
so what I would say is that chapters can help you in clipping, and they can also help you in SEO. So chapters, especially, what I found and what we found at Tubebuddy is that the effort we put in doing chapters has earned us more views exponentially, because chapters can help you show up in Google. They can help you with clips. Like our podcast person who I talk to, he does chapters just so he can clip better. And he's already doing the hard part of getting the clips. So when he's doing that, he's like, you know what? I might as well do chapters, because in the long run, those can help a lot. And you have some, long form podcasts here.
markers coming out now. That's such a good idea. What? Like, you're thinking outside of the box. That's insane. Because then you just get it later. Like, that's so.
But you're already doing the work. So that's why I would say, you know what, if you're already there, you might as well double up what you're doing. Now I see Lava Squid is acting, what is YouTube chapters? And YouTube chapters are whenever someone puts timestamps in the video, YouTube is now letting the creator segment parts of an interview. So let's say they want, like in this one, they want to focus on my introduction. They can go Andrew Can introduction. Then they can go Andrew Can's history, how to grow on YouTube. And then YouTube tips with Tubebuddy's Andrew Can could be an own chapter. Ties back into the title of this, goes into SEO metadata. So this is just so you can use it all together. It basically helps YouTubers do better on YouTube search, and YouTube search can lead to getting more suggested views. If you do well in search, it can lead to suggested, but suggested can never lead to search views. That's something YouTube says.
Dude, that's just genius. Oh my God, you guys are just killing it. That's so good. That is so smart, especially like with doing the clips after. That's just.
I might have I'll give you this. So there is a website called SRT to PDF, and Google already gives you closed captions that they connect and get. They're about 90% accurate. They say 90%, I'll say 80% because I feel that's a little more accurate than the 90. But
so what's it called?
It is called SRT. It's in their closed captions. And the reason I bring this up is you can bring SRT to PDF. It's basically how they read the closed captions. Why I'm saying this, if there's a part that you want to clip, it'll show you the dialogue. And then in the caption file, you can hit Control F, find that bit of dialogue, what was said. You can jump to that point in the captions editor of YouTube. Then you found your clip. So if you can remember the quote you liked, you can write that down, go to the SRT file, make it a PDF, find it, go back to YouTube, find it, and you've saved yourself a lot of time. That's how a lot of professional people clip.
That is, you kind of blow my mind here. But look, I don't want to be kind of like, because I know you do charge money to like do that kind of advice. I don't want to be like taking advantage of you, because I did want to talk more so about you and like your involvement in Tubebuddy and how it's been so far. So unless you got some more golden nuggets, uh, free ones, we'll go back to you. So, what made you want to get involved in YouTube in the first place?
For me, I've always enjoyed telling stories, and like Hollywood was like way back in the day, like what I wanted.
Mm.
But I was in film school. Like this was in 2012 when went into film school. They presented two paths. They're like, you could do traditional Hollywood. It's never going to die. It's always going to be here. Or you can try the digital sector, which is we have no idea if it's going to be successful. We have no idea if it's going to work. But if you go that path, you're going in at your own risk. I chose digital because at that point, I joined YouTube in 2006, 1 year after it was formed. So I'd always known YouTube could be the future. I couldn't prove it because I was too young. And obviously, who's going to listen to an 18-year-old kid from Mississippi, which is like the South, and has a bad rep for not being the most educated here in the United States? So I'm like, no one's going to believe me that I think YouTube's going to be big someday. So I was like, I'm going to go in digital in college. And it was the best decision I ever made. Because while I'm sitting here talking about YouTube and talking about this amazing platform I've always believed in, some of my friends that went traditional are having the hardest time of their lives finding work right now. I feel so much for them.
Yeah, and it's no longer like at a point where you can do, you could be like maybe just an editor.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna want to do everything because if you want to be working, basically, if you want to work, you got to do everything. But I've done the exact same thing as you. Only I'm a year older. I'm 19 right now. I was going to do film, and I said I'd do media instead because, I'm doing this, and I do see potential in kind of like what would you call it in new media like podcasts and so on because people kind of feel like they're getting lectured by a lot of TV people. Or so on. So when the average Joe Schmo is sitting down and have a chat, I think it kind of resonates with people a bit better. But
sure.
yeah, I think you made the right call. Going into digital rather than cinema or film. Because even guys who would be like low tier like film guys have like gigantic filmmaking YouTubes. Like they probably haven't done much on set, but they're killing it on YouTube.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, because they're killing it on YouTube, they're being invited to do Hyundai shoots. They're being invited to do all these massive traditional shoots that would not have been possible years ago. Like YouTube has opened the door, and so is other platforms. Like TikTok is creating doors. So like when people are like, what platform should I be on? Be on the one you're most passionate about.
Do you really want to go through that door of TikTok?
I was that way at first. I will be completely honest. I was slow to adapt on TikTok. I realized that, though, if I'm slow to adapt here, I always thought, why do older people not understand how to use a computer or a phone? And then I thought, if I'm not going to learn TikTok, am I any better? Am I any better for judging those people if I'm sitting here deciding not to look at a new age? Like for Gen Z, which I'm technically a millennial, but I'm on that weird cusp where I'm almost both.
Yeah.
But for the younger generation, which again, it sounds really pretentious, but it's technically true. Like that TikTok to them is their YouTube that was to me. And if I am to shun away from it, who am I? I'm no better than the people that said YouTube will never be anything. So I jumped on the train because I never want to stop a creative from creating ever.
Well, absolute power to you, sir. I think if I listen to you, which I will, and I start doing the clips, and maybe I get some short ones. I might put them on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully we got some comedic stuff in there with the comedians. Ideally that would happen. But yeah, I'll get back to you on that one.
You can also try YouTube Shorts.
I have never tried it. I don't even know how to.
All you have to do is put #shorts in the title and or description. It's pretty simple. It's right from YouTube. Also, it needs to be their dimensions. I can send you some stuff offline.
That's very. I really appreciate that, Andrew.
But
I'd love to do this again in like a year to see if it made a difference. Not only if it makes like a huge difference, because if I'm like you went from like 1.5 to 1.6 in a year, gone, gone.
Well, speaking in a year's time, I mean, that's going to be when your legend license I gave you at the beginning of the show will be over. So hopefully you can enjoy TubeBuddy Legend on me. Thank you for letting me be here. You now have TubeBuddy Legend. That's the hint. I just appreciate you taking your time out to speak with me. So you now have TubeBuddy Legend for the Awfully Irish podcast on me.
You're my fucking hero. I love you, Andrew. You're a fucking king. Like, we already had like a paid version of it, and we were like loving it. But holy fuck, thank you.
So I unfortunately canceled your paid version to give you Legend for free. I don't want you paying for it. I mean, if you want to pay for it, that's your prerogative. I'm not going to stop you, but I'd rather you not.
I'm not going to stop you there. You're a fucking sound lad. Oh my god. Well, watch this now. Like, oh, everyone in chat's going to be booking an interview with you later. How are you now, Andrew? No, dude, that's so fucking generous of you. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, please, by all means, I'm down.
My only thing I'd say this to you and your co-host who I've watched, I would say focus on yourself and believe in yourself more. Because I watched your show, it's good. I watched not only the more popular stuff, I watched just random obscure ones that looked interesting to me. You guys have a good thing going here. Don't doubt yourself. That'd be my only advice. Only thing I'd tell you. Only thing I want you to do.
I really appreciate that, man, because, like, you know, when you were saying, like, earlier, when you're 18, like, no one wants to fucking listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm 19. The only reason people, even like in their early 20s, listen to me is because I look older. That's the only reason. Because, like, that's a big problem we have. Like, you know, we talk to a guy who's maybe, like, we've had like academics on or whatever, but academics don't want to listen to two 19-year-olds chat shit with like a genius, basically. You know? Do you think that's like an actual factor on YouTube, that people don't really want to listen to the younger people?
I mean, I'd say this, right? Like, arguably, there is a balance that people have in their everyday life, right? Like, people are very much, how can I get the most return? Like, for me being here, I just enjoy talking to creators and getting different perspectives. So just getting to talk to you and hearing how you think of YouTube helps me get TubeBuddy to be better. It helps me learn how to be a better person in teaching this platform, right? So that's why I'm here. I'll be very transparent on that. So what is the value for people coming on listening to you? It's not that you're 19, it's that they may not see the value. I immediately saw the value when I listened to your show. And when we were trying to reach out, I was like, okay, I want to be on. I have a very busy schedule, unfortunately, but I want to be there. So I was like, how can I help? What is something I can do that can just make this process better? So I recommended Calendly, and here we are, right? So for me, I see potential in a lot of creators. I see potential in you. I want you to explore that creativity, because when you do, you can do that for the next person. Because that's all that was ever taken on me, was a chance. And if I give you a chance, maybe you'll give someone else a chance. And that's how this cycle continues.
You're a fucking sound guy. I'm so glad I talked to you above, like, I didn't ask anyone else from TubeBuddy to get on. It was just you. Because I was like, this is like the most down-to-earth guy. This is like you obviously, when you're doing your videos, you have like a very like business or very like professional, but then like you go to your own content and it can be a bit more lighthearted and funny. So I was like, I can deal with this dude. I can have a good conversation. I did not expect the TubeBuddy Legends at all. So again, thank you very much, dude. Yeah, but so what kind of? Oh, my head's still fried, man.
I'm sorry.
Jeez, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say, yeah, you were saying earlier, like you do a lot of interviews with creators. Mm-hmm. Like, realistically, how many are you dealing with? Like, you dealing weekly, monthly?
Oh, man,
like, am I your only one today?
Today, yes, actually. I have a busy schedule with helping TubeBuddy. So like TubeBuddy is my main thing, but tomorrow I have 6 interviews. So like today it's just you, but tomorrow I have multiple interviews. But
are these all about you, or are they for TubeBuddy?
It's a variety, usually mostly TubeBuddy. So it really depends.
Okay.
But in the interviews, what I learn is that what I think we forget is that we're all just people. Like, we're all just trying to make this work. Like, most of the time, we don't want to be jerks. We don't want to have to do things. So it's the situation where all I want to do is hear the humanity in people, because I feel like in the pandemic, like that's something that we can lose, especially here stateside, is like we forget that we're all just trying. Like what I learned at 26 is, which is I'm about to be 27, is that no one knows what the hell we're doing. We're just trying. All of us are just trying to the best
No
of our
one knows.
abilities.
And if they think they know, you know, there might be something else going on there. But actually, maybe there's some exceptions. You've met Gary V. That guy
Mhm.
knows what he's doing.
Exactly, but he got there, and he'll be very honest by honing in what he's good at and recognizing what he can give to other people. For example, one thing you've honed in on is you love doing the interview process. If you're making gas, like you can, if you're making, like you said, lawnmower gas money,
Yeah.
well, some people would see that and go, Fiverr, you can get people to do things on Fiverr, like do your YouTube chapters for $5 a video. You do the YouTube chapters, you can then do the clips, and then you can upload that and do the stuff of the YouTube side. So then Gary Vee would probably tell you flip and then buy and invest in yourself. That's what he knows how to do, because that's what's worked for him. So
He's
you
a bit
could
of a
do
legend like that.
exactly. So arguably you could do the same thing with that model I just gave you. Instead of using it for your lawnmower, use it for your channel. The thing is, you got to invest in yourself to be where you want to be. It doesn't have to be money, but it might have to be your time. Time is arguably more valuable than money. We're not getting the time we get today back. I know that. I know you know that, but do you realize that? That's the difference.
Yeah, I kind of take advantage of it because I kind of copped on at an early age. Like I've done like really fucking hard work since I worked before it was like legal for me to work. Just to to give you an idea, I worked for way less than minimum wage in rough jobs, and I realized I don't want to fucking do that. I don't want to, be in my 40s maybe doing a job I hate. So I'm giving this a go while I'm in college. Going to keep at it. Same with Thomas. Obviously he's not here to speak for himself, so I'm only speaking on my perspective. But it's so handy having two people. It's so handy, and it kind of copped on like, okay, I figured this out pretty young. Where am I in 5 years? Is 5 years that big of a difference? If I really dig into it for 5 years, blah blah blah. And even I see like Lava Squid there. I know that guy's pretty young, so same with him. Like, what's the next 5 years to like experiment with something? Because at the moment, have the time. Because I'm sure you've seen that as well when you were working with the multi-channel networks and when you first got into Tubebuddy. Because how old would you have been when you got into Tubebuddy?
I just turned 21.
Yeah, that's not a bad one to get into. Like that's been a good experience for you. I take it. I guess.
100%. I mean, if I would have told myself for the next 5 years at 21, you're going to have the job you've always dreamed of. You're going to be able to do exactly what you thought you could do when you were younger, and that you'd love every second of it, I'd say bullshit, because I wouldn't believe it myself. But here we are, right? Like the job I'm in didn't exist until I made it. And that could be the exact same for Lava Squid watching. Could be the same for Gold Bacon. It could be the same for yourself. And like, that's the beauty of the digital age, is that the job you want could be one you forge yourself.
Absolutely. It's so handy. And if you want to look at some definitive examples of that, you ever heard of OnlyFans? There you go. Those women didn't have those jobs back in maybe even 5 years ago. They, like even with the likes of Patreon or whatever, stuff you can do now is unreal. Like one thing I'm fascinated by at the moment, because I like to talk to paleontologists, is like these paleontology channels. So they're like guys who never really went to college for it, but are super interested. Like they kept like the love of dinosaurs into their adulthood and got super into it. And now, thanks to Patreon and YouTube and like affiliates, like we were saying, they can make a living out of talking about dinosaurs. That must be pretty cool. Wouldn't mind that gig.
So one of the beauty of this job is I've gotten to see some really interesting niches, and like there are some out there that, like, there are survival bunker YouTube channels where they teach you how to build like your own survival bunker, and they got to talk to like experts and people that built the atomic bomb and things like that. And they're like, I'm just a YouTuber and I'm talking to these major scientists. And I'm like, but that's the power of connectivity. That's the beauty of YouTube.
Yeah. Because, that's one thing that comes with YouTube. It's like the connection. Like, Andrew, if I said, how you getting on, Andrew? I'm just Jer. I do not have a podcast. Do you want to call with me for about, 45 minutes so far? You'd be like, delete. Or you'd be like, I don't know what you'd say, but probably not yes.
I would probably say, what do you want to talk about? That'd be my first, like my gut would be that. I'm lucky that most people associate TubeBuddy and disassociate me. Like they associate us together, but they don't assume that I have the success, even though arguably it's weird, right? So TubeBuddy's massive. I technically built TubeBuddy, but I still have the ability to be flexible, which most larger creators don't because they have staff. They have massive teams that rely on them. I am a part of TubeBuddy, but TubeBuddy does not rely on me solely, which if it did would be scary. So
you can have an off day.
Exactly.
Well, like you said, you had an injury fairly recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you were able to take some time off then.
Exactly. And it's the flexibility that I get that lets me do that. But I also understand large creators. Like I know a lot of large creators have teams of 30 to 40 people, but the optic is it's just that one person. Like you have a co-host, you have a teammate. You're not technically doing this alone, but sometimes if people only saw this, they might be like, oh, it's just him. It's just him.
Yeah. Yeah, that is part of it, yeah. Yeah, man, the people with those teams. Oh my god. One of the most high paying jobs in YouTube is probably being like Mr. Beast's friend. That sounds all right, doesn't it? Or who has like a gigantic team? The infamous Jake Paul. He's like a full staff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. He's winning on like hateful clickbait, which is something very real. Is that a trend you're noticing on YouTube these days?
I would argue that the internet, if you look at just data across not only YouTube, people tend to be more reactionary to hate than love because we like conflict as people. Like you said you were in media, right? So we know that a story, I woke up, had eggs, and it was a good day is boring.
Yeah.
I ran out of eggs, so I went to the store and was held up and now I'm involved in armed robbery. It's a way more interesting story than I got eggs, had a good day, and went to bed. You want to know what would happen to me if someone put me at gunpoint and made me rob a store because it's like, whoa, what happened? Just because he had eggs? He was out of eggs? This all happened? Like that's immediately your head goes somewhere, right?
That's exactly it, yeah. It just kind of, and I suppose that's why clickbait does so well. Yeah. Like like the 3 a.m. stuff back in the day used to be big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like silly stuff like that, man. I'm sure you've seen it all. You've seen more than I have. You've seen like all the trends of YouTube. I'm like 2017 and up. I've seen bits of them, like when the likes of Keemstar or Leafy were doing that kind of, I don't know, call out stuff. That kind of like bully YouTube media. Glad that got removed very fast. I am so happy YouTube copped on and said, "This kid's just bullying people. Let's not give him as much money as we're giving him." Yeah. I don't know. It's a rough one on YouTube sometimes. But are there any trends that you've kind of like seen and instantly known they wouldn't last? Or are there any at the moment you think aren't going to last?
It's hard to say, right? Because if I've learned anything from fidget spinners, everyone at the time was like, "Oh, it's got a week." 2 years later, it had life, right? So it's like a 2-year trend is pretty great. I mean, Pokemon when it first came out, people were like, "Oh, it's gonna die," and then it's 25 years. The most profitable franchise out there is Pokemon. Look it up. Most people don't know that. It is massive. Video games are bigger than movies and music, right? So like.
We had this conversation yesterday. Mr. Beast is at a point where he can compete with cinemas.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And he's just a YouTuber. Remember that when people say they're just blank. I feel that they're just blank is usually said because they don't know the potential, and if they do know the potential, they're scared of it. Because
Absolutely.
it's not easy to do what Mr. Beast does at scale. Like, he did it for 5 years before anyone cared. But if he quit at any time, he wouldn't be Mr. Beast.
But yeah.
But we don't care about the 5 years of failure. We care about the buying my friends new cars, buying out 5 stores. But he had to really work for that ability.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Like, one of those things I seen of his, and it was like the first time he gave his mom like 10 grand, and like I think the reason that did so well is because everyone was like, I'd love to give my mom 10 grand. I would love to be in that position.
You connected, and remember,
Yeah.
YouTube is connectivity.
You're absolutely right. Look at you. You're a goddamn genius. Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay, we're gonna call it to an end, but oh my god, it's been such a good conversation. So I've already linked in the description if people want to go check you out, at least on your main channel. Is there anything anywhere else you want to direct people?
If you haven't already, subscribe to the Awfully Irish podcast here on YouTube. Make sure to follow the Clips channel, which I hope will also be linked in the description, because they're going to have some new clips there. I just wanted to tie it back to my very gracious podcast host here. So in all seriousness, yeah, like I feel when it comes and in all seriousness,
keep going.
if you check out my channel, you can pretty much find everywhere to find me. I'm at Andrew Can Film, Can with a K. So I'm pretty much everywhere, but don't forget to shout out yourself. You're sitting here giving me all the praise. I want to thank you for your time too.
No, look, I didn't expect as much as I got out of this conversation. I really appreciated your time. I wish we could do it for longer, but I know you're a very busy guy. So maybe a year from now, maybe 2, maybe 3, we'll have another conversation. I'll have a better webcam, I promise. So, all right. So if you got this far for played you, good luck. Bye-bye. And thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Good luck.